Kitty, careful. What, did you hear me, baby? Come on. Kitty food. Kitty food. Come on. Come on, run. Cat food. Actually, that's pretty cool. Put on a harness and get some wet food and make it chase after it. Sure. Good boy.
All right, looks like it's 60 degrees Fahrenheit. We're at 209,753 on the odometer. It is March 15th, 2024. And man, I don't know. Yeah, didn't do a whole lot of extra work, but on the screenplay. But it's a whole new thing, and a lot of new ideas are coming about. Like, one idea that came about doesn't really have to do with the writing of the screenplay, but more of like casting, because you sometimes cast when you're writing in your head. It helps. And I thought, I have to get on backstage, possibly, maybe even audition for this one. This one's gonna be a pretty important one. And I decided to go ahead and take on two of the roles, kind of pull a Peter Sellers move. So the bird, which is supposed to be a younger character, I'm gonna go ahead and take on the bird and Hopperhead, which is the cricket. So I'm gonna take on both those, because I'm writing about kind of like a circle of thieves underground, kind of maybe like neo-noir, slight comedy, kind of drama. I don't know what it is yet. I'm not gonna really worry about like saturating the color code or anything like that. I'm probably just gonna film it like, pretty much just like with a smartphone. I might get into that a little bit later. I've been getting into color, learning a little bit about color and watching, like these clips from the Coen brothers, and they're pretty good with color because they desaturated things the more dramatic it got, and the more comedy they put more color, But there's a lot of good films that are out there, like Poor. I think it's called Poor Things. It's supposed to be lots of color in that. They won production design, and I'm not really going to go into like really crazy color code, and I'm not really shooting a lot for any kind of CGI, or not really going for spectacular cinematography. Although I'd like to get a few shots in there that would work, but it's not like every shot. But you do need kind of like a postcard kind of mindset, because that's what establishes it as an actual film rather than just a pure, it establishes it as a film rather than just a vlog. So there's a difference between the two. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play Bird, and I'll play Hopperhead, which I think is a good thing because I always like those Peter Sellers movies. Like there's a lot of them, but I always liked Dr. Strangelove, and How We Learned to Love the Bomb, whatever the title is. Kubrick, black and white, 1960-ish kind of ballpark figure film about dealing with the atomic bomb and things like that. But we're not going that far out. But what I'm trying to say is that I like the fact that you can see Peter Sellers in it, and at one moment he's playing like this crazy German character, and then in other moments he's playing like an Americanized character, they're both kind of militant. But this is more of kind of like, one guy is kind of suave, standard, he'd be the protagonist, which is Bird for right now. And then, of course, the villain, which is very big in neo-noir. They're cynical heroes, heroes that are, kind of self-interest kind of thing, And that would be Hopperhead, the cricket. So, what I thought about doing was just kind of like changing the accent. It's like Hopperhead kind of talks like this, and he's just real ridiculous and just really has this kind of like voice is kind of like that, even though I said it's maybe not his real accent kind of thing, but yet he kind of talks that way to kind of disguise his voice. And he might wear like sunglasses to disguise what he looks like, even to his like, anybody he meets. And so I'd have to like build kind of a character for him, which I think will be a lot of fun because I can go shopping and look for like maybe westernized clothing. I'm kind of ripping a little bit off like Blood Simple's villain with Email or whatever his name is, Walsh guy, Emmett Walsh, yeah. Kind of like a real big hit guy, you know, talks like this and kind of does that kind of stuff. He's running, kind of like, you know, he's kind of stupid but kind of smart, you know, a little bit. And then I'll be able to play with that and tweak that, and then switch it over and be Bird, you know, for the other stuff. That way I knock out trying to find those two actors, of course, and I'll be in charge of the acting, memorizing the lines and all that stuff. So with the love interest, which is Kitty, that's all we know her as. She's just mute, so she won't have any lines, but she will speak in tongues at times, and she does like have epileptic seizures and flops around on the floor and stuff. But it's not like real intense kind of seizure kind of thing. It's not like what you see in Hollywood movies. This is more like she's just kind of thumping on the floor with her eyes closed. You know, it doesn't look that intense, and mostly from like the shoulders up, you know. So it's not going to be like too difficult to do, and that'll bring out more reality and stuff where it's not like a full-on seizure where she's foaming at the mouth and kicking her legs all around. Although I do describe it in the script already as I just describe it in the script as flopping on the floor like a fish. But we'll tone it down. My director, I'll also come in as a director and be able to kind of tone it down a little bit. Oh, look, there's a $100,000 Sprinter. All right, so we got that kind of going. So I got a lot to work on right there. That could be months of shooting already. I got plenty of time I like the idea of writing it as I'm doing it. I like that idea for some reason because I think it's probably better to do that, really. And that's what they used to do a long time ago, really. But then again, you know, maybe write the whole thing out, basically, so I have kind of a plot idea of where I'm going. And then just kind of keep it all simplified in things that I can actually do. I don't want to write myself into like a cogwheel jammed, you know, like a jammed cogwheel. What that means is you write too much stuff and you're like, you can't even begin, you know? You're like, well, we can't get this warehouse, we can't get this kind of uniform, we can't get this kind of vehicle, you know, or whatever it is. You don't want to write yourself into a jam, or then you're going to be completely dependent on Hollywood. You won't go anywhere. They're not going to answer your call. They're not going to talk to you. They're not going to send you a message, and it's not going to happen. You know, it's like playing the lottery. You got to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself if you want it to be done. I promise you. At least you're like super lucky, right? But you have to literally take the reins, you know, and just take it for a ride yourself. All right. So that's one thing that we've got planned, and that alone right there, just what I've been talking about, that can take like a year or two just to prepare, especially if I'm still going to cast Rob. So Rob's like a runner thief. He's a character that, like, you know, I have him, that's what I call him. You know, I'm being kind of generalistic and stuff, so I'm doing this so I can be doable. Like, I'm not going to worry about long backstory and stuff. I might eventually get there, you know, like, or have the actor create his own backstory, you know. It's like, it really, the thing is, the terrible thing, the good and the bad of being an actor and also a director is that you can do too much if you're an actor, you know, and you want to keep everything simple so it can move forward. So Rob's character is just a runner. He's just a runner. He grabs stuff, you know. And I was watching last night To Catch a Thief with Cary Grant, which is Alfred Hitchcock. And that character is kind of simple. You don't know a lot about his past. You know that he's a famous thief named Robbie or something like that. And he's known as the Cat. But you don't know a lot about him, and I thought that was cool. You know, they don't really talk a lot about him. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong. But it didn't seem like they really talked a whole lot about him. He just was a well-known thief that catches another thief, you know. It's like a thief catching another thief kind of thing. And they use him, and, you know, he comes and goes. He's on rooftops a lot of the film. And the film kind of works. It's not Alfred Hitchcock's best film, but it does kind of work because he's on the roofs, you know. It kind of has like a video game quality a little bit about it. And then you find out there's like this young teenage French thief that's doing it for a father, and you find out kind of like the history of the thing. It's kind of like exposing the story as it goes along kind of thing. But anyway, gotta have cast that character. I don't know the character's age or anything like that, but he works, I guess, with Hopper Head kind of thing. And, you know, it's kind of maybe another version of To Catch the Thief with Cary Grant and Alfred Hitchcock. But it's not going to be that epic. We're not going to be shooting in this, you know, island landscape that, like, you know, is just beautiful, like painting shots and all that kind of stuff. We're just not gonna be able to get to that, you know. So, but we'll get what we can and do what we have to. right, first one, 5:15, 9 minutes, 3.1. What I was talking about on To Catch a Thief, Alfred Hitchcock and Cary Grant, what I was talking about, they do talk about him. He's famous. He's in the paper. So he's a well-known thief. They don't know exactly who he is, but they assume. Now, this is all based on a book. I don't know the name of the book, but I'll figure it out later. But they assume that he is they assume that he's Cary Grant's character, which is, he has a different name. Because back then, I like To Catch a Thief. It's actually really good. Because they didn't have like a lot of cameras back then. They only had like word of mouth and rumors and like things like that, which are also kind of not always true, you know. So there was really no way to catch him. But Grace Kelly's character assumes that it is the Cary Grant character, which is he's known as Roby the cat, or the cat Roby or whatever, but he's a famous thief. But he catches another thief. That's kind of, it's really, the title is To Catch a Thief, but it's really a thief catching a thief, which is kind of the Hitchcock kind of twist on things. Hitchcock always had, he was very kind of noir in a way. He had a lot of twist kind of thing. Plot twist is very noir. It's one of the elements of noir, is plot twist, as well as shadows and cynical heroes, things being very dark, existential kind of philosophy. But what I like about the Cary Grant character is that he is established among the rich. So he's like kind of one of their friends, and they kind of know about him. But like, you know, in this particular noir, or if you want to call it that, there's no real narration in it. So that's what I mean by they don't talk about him, is they don't go into depth about his past. He's still a mysterious character, even though he's famous, he's in the papers, and everybody knows everybody wants to figure out who the cat is, but his identity is not sound, or they would just walk over to Cary Grant's character, whatever his name was, he had a different name, and they would just, you know, arrest him, but they don't know for sure. And only one that accuses him of being the cat, the thief, which is like basically like a cat burglar, is Grace Kelly's character. And you never really know for sure if he really is the thief. But they do find one guy, he kind of looks similar to Cary Grant. They do kill him with like a wrench and throw him off a cliff. And there's another scene where they shoot at him and stuff like that. It was really crazy. I think it's set like in a France territory, you know, it's French territory. That's all I'll say. It's very beautifully shot. The cinematography is amazing in the movie, and it's a very fun watch. You know, I watched it last night. It was pretty good. And there's also this really cool scene where they're all like in this like kind of like Amadeus kind of outfits, you know, like a kind of almost if you think of the movie called Eyes Wide Shut kind of way. You have to see that where they're showing off jewelry, because mostly the cat gets jewelry. Pretty good one. Another thing that's interesting about To Catch a Thief, which is Alfred Hitchcock's, one of his masterpieces, is that a lot of the jewelry that was stolen, you know, by the Cary Grant character, which is the cat, he talks about it several times, it's all insured. So you kind of think for a minute, like, are the rich actually making money off of him, because they can kind of twist the facts on how much the jewelry is worth, stealing like necklaces and, whatnot from under people's pillow and things like that. And also, it kind of has like a North by Northwest kind of feel in it where, it doesn't end abruptly like on a cliffhanger as much as North by Northwest. It really is more of like a love story. And there's a lot of wide shots in it of the scenic valley of this beautiful, what looks like an island. But there's French flags everywhere. I have to watch it again to really figure out where it was filmed. But it's done very well. That's kind of what makes the film good, is the way that it's captured. And of course, Cary Grant's pretty good in it, and Grace Kelly's got a very charming. There's a lot of chase sequences in the vehicles which looks like some of it's done in a studio, and then some of it's done, from afar on wide shot, like on location. Meaning the shots are long shots on wide shots or long shots on these small little narrow roads winding around this island-like atmosphere with French flags everywhere. But yeah, it's good. I got the squirrel right there. See if he's gonna make it across. Yeah, he's kind of scared. But yeah, I mean, like nowadays it would be done very different. Another film that I kind of want to watch, this is noir, and I've heard a lot about it, is Fincher's The Killer with Fassbender. I have not been able to see any kind of like a lot of modern films. I'm watching a lot of whatever they put on YouTube, basically. But The Killer looks like a good one. It made neo-noir list when I was looking up neo-noir. I was like, oh, this is interesting. David Fincher's The Killer. His color code's always kind of cool. Supposedly the fight choreography in that is supposed to be like amazing. Fight sequences are, actually supposed to be incredible, But, I haven't necessarily seen it per se, but it's supposed to be a very dynamic movie. And that would be another one. So I got a long list of movies to watch. I want to go back and watch Nolan's The Following. Also want to watch Blue Velvet a few times. Take from here or there. I'm not trying to reproduce Blue Velvet. I wouldn't try to do something like that. It'd be like someone trying to remake Eraserhead, which I think would be interesting. But, that's not going to... It could happen. You never know. But, I wouldn't attempt it because those are such personal films, It'd be like copying someone's journal and, saying that it's yours, really. But, because they're very auteur, films. But they are interesting to watch, and there's a certain rhythm to them that's different than a lot of other movies. And also what I would say about David Lynch that separates him from the Coen brothers and all the other filmmakers is he is kind of the filmmaker's filmmaker. So a lot of his stuff comes from probably like paintings, and maybe some from literature, because he does read things every once in a while, but it seems to me that it's coming from something else. It's not coming from, maybe a little bit of cinema. Maybe there's a little bit of cinema drawing from cinema there. But he talks a lot about dreams, and he talks a lot about meditation. So there's like this there's this unlimited well of consciousness or something that he talks about, and it's like goes to this other worldly kind of feel, and that breaks all the rules and probably frustrates a lot of the really hardworking filmmakers because they don't understand it, so they wouldn't really be able to completely attempt it, but they would kind of like maybe mimic it. I've seen this a little bit in Scorsese's work, especially like The Irishman. For some reason, I felt like, Lynch has kind of an effect in this because of the way the shots were. There's a lot of silence in it. Because Lynch has a lot of, not necessarily silence per se, but he has a lot of space. That's what I meant, space. Lynch has tons of space in his movies. Not like the universe kind of space, but like space from one distance to another distance. So it takes time, right, to get from one area of Lynch's thing to another, but also within the scene. If you look at Inland Empire, they take a lot of time on like answering or participating within the conversation. It's not in normal time. Someone will say something, and then a lot of time will go by, and then there's a response, you know, and that's coming from like dream surrealism. The rhythm of his films are what make it surreal. It's not always just him putting in weird things and scratchy noises and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Is not what makes it a surreal aspect. It's more of the rhythm of how it's put in there, you know. It's when it's done and how it's done and the timing on it. And I think that comes from, like, you know, because dreams don't always match the reality of, you know, like, it doesn't always match the reality of what you would expect it to be. And he feels that movies are kind of like more like a dream. They're more like a dream. All right, next one, 552.6 1.7. All right, 606.7 2.3.